Do not cast pearls before swine. The warning hidden in Jesus' words. There is a sentence of Jesus that sounds strange, almost offensive when heard today. Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not cast your pearls before swine. For centuries it has been quoted, repeated, softened, and moralized. But inside its original context, the statement is not polite advice. It is a warning about truth, perception, and the danger of revealing something sacred to those unable or unwilling to recognize its value. And once you begin to understand what Jesus was really saying, the statement begins to sound less like etiquette and more like a rule for survival. The words appear in the Gospel of Matthew 7:6, inside the Sermon on the Mount. This is important. Only moments earlier, Jesus tells people not to judge hypocritically and to remove the plank from their own eye before correcting someone else. It seems like a call for humility and openness. But suddenly, without softening the tone, he introduces a boundary. There are things that should not be given indiscriminately. Why would Jesus say that? Because not everyone responds to truth the same way. Some people search for it, some resist it, and some react violently when confronted by it. That is the tension hidden inside the verse. In the ancient world, dogs and swine were not affectionate terms like they are today. Pigs were considered unclean animals in Jewish law, and wild dogs were scavengers roaming outside cities. They symbolize something incapable of recognizing what is sacred. So when Jesus speaks about pearls, one of the most valuable objects in the ancient world, he is describing a clash between value and perception. Imagine placing a priceless jewel in the mud. The pig cannot recognize its value. It does not see treasure, it sees an obstacle. It may trample it, ignore it, or even turn on the person who offered it. That is the imagery Jesus chooses deliberately. The warning is not about arrogance, it is about discernment. Because truth, when offered in the wrong environment, can trigger hostility rather than transformation. This is where the statement becomes unsettling. We often imagine truth as something universally welcomed, but the biblical narrative repeatedly shows the opposite. Prophets were rejected, messengers were silenced, and eventually the one who spoke these words was executed. Truth does not always produce enlightenment. Sometimes it produces aggression. When Jesus speaks about pearls, he may be referring to the sacred teachings of the kingdom of God. In the same sermon, he describes the narrow path, the hidden righteousness, the internal transformation of the heart. These are not casual ideas. They require perception, humility, and readiness. Without those qualities, the message becomes incomprehensible. And when people cannot understand something that challenges their worldview, they often respond not with curiosity, but with rejection. The pattern appears again and again in the Gospels. Jesus reveals truth. Some listen, some walk away. Others become hostile. The difference is not intelligence, it is openness. That is why discernment becomes essential. Do not cast pearls before swine does not mean withholding truth forever. It means recognizing when the environment is incapable of receiving it. Wisdom includes knowing when to speak and when silence protects what is sacred. In a sense, Jesus is describing a law of spiritual perception. Value is only recognized by those prepared to perceive it. Without preparation, revelation becomes noise, and sometimes, worse than noise, it becomes threat. There is also another dimension hidden inside the metaphor. When pearls are thrown to animals, the animals may not only trample them, but also turn and attack the one who threw them. That detail matters. The text warns that reckless revelation can provoke aggression. History confirms this pattern repeatedly. Those who challenge systems with uncomfortable truths are rarely applauded immediately. Often they are ridiculed, marginalized, or silenced. Jesus understood that dynamic long before modern societies discussed censorship or ideological conflict. The teaching therefore introduces a paradox. The message of the kingdom is meant for the world, but it cannot always be delivered in the same way to everyone at the same moment. Discernment determines timing. This principle appears elsewhere in the teachings of Jesus. At times he speaks openly to crowds. At other times he explains deeper meanings only to his disciples. The truth is not changed, but the audience determines the level of revelation. It is not secrecy for the sake of elitism. It is protection of what is sacred from distortion. Think again about the metaphor. A pearl has immense value, but only to someone who recognizes what it is. Without that recognition, its worth disappears. In the same way, spiritual truths require perception shaped by humility, curiosity, and willingness to change. Without those qualities, even the most profound insight can appear meaningless. This explains why some people read the same teachings of Jesus and experience transformation, while others read them and feel nothing. The pearl remains the same. Perception determines response. So the warning, "Do not cast pearls before swine," is less about exclusion and more about awareness. It asks a difficult question: where is truth likely to grow, and where will it be crushed? Not every conversation is fertile soil. Not every audience is ready. Not every moment is the right moment. And recognizing that difference is not weakness, it is wisdom. Perhaps that is why this short sentence remains so powerful. In a world flooded with information, we often assume that more exposure automatically creates more understanding. But Jesus suggests the opposite. Without readiness, exposure can produce contempt rather than comprehension. The pearl remains valuable whether recognized or not, but where it is placed determines what happens to it. If this reflection made you reconsider the meaning of "do not cast pearls before swine," then look again at the teachings of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew. Many statements that seem simple on the surface reveal deeper layers when read in their full context. And perhaps the real question is not whether pearls exist, but whether we are ready to recognize them when they appear.